All right, later.
All right, peace. All right, well then,
Kyle, our tech guru.
dude, he's the guy. He's the guy. So now that we're 7 minutes in and I know we're officially live, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to Let's Talk About Feelings with myself, Robbie Ripoll, and my awesome other host, Dustie Pitstick. Also with our honorary co-hosts, Amber and her daughter Tess. So hi guys.
Hey.
Thank you to Guy Aitchison and Gabe Ripley for giving us the opportunity to be here every week and talk about feelings, which is something that tattooers don't usually do a whole lot of. We just usually bitch. So talking about feelings is nice. And I enjoy that you guys are coming here being with me on this. And I apologize for like being all weird in the water. I still can't find a place to get the sun out of my eyes fully. So like kind of hiding under this cool table that's in my pool. Like, not only am I in a pool in Florida, I have a fucking table in my pool. Like, that's wild.
We get it.
When we take the kids to Universal, we're stopping at your house.
Right? No shit. Yeah, you're right, Donna. I should just bring it over there. Yeah.
Just leave one with Dad. We'll be good.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll leave them with their grandfather. My ex can take the kids.
That's perfect. All right. So, here we are. It's a little easier now.
Zen's actually gonna take over.
Yeah. Yeah, Zen's
So
gonna
this
enjoy
is-
himself.
This is Zen's show now.
He says,
Hey, baby.
This makes me wish my squishies were little.
Yeah, I tell you what, I never really had a thing for babies. I thought they were, you know, a lot of work and kind of a pain in the ass. And then I had, well, Donna had him. And it's a much bigger change. I enjoy this time around. When I was a young man, having young people to be caring for, it was difficult. It's still difficult now, but now that I'm a grown up, I feel, you know, I'm in my 40s. I feel like it's a lot easier to just be a father and a good partner and a supportive, you know, role model for the little man. Yeah. Yeah. So, what do you guys want to talk about today?
What you got, Dusty?
Ooh, I don't know. Just got home from a guest spot in Indiana. Life's pretty good.
What you twerking on?
That remains to be seen.
Oh,
Not a whole lot at the moment.
Okay.
Just laying out something, seeing where it takes me.
is that a Wednesday?
I was about
That
to ask
is-
that.
The eventual game plan. Eventual being big old quotes there. Trying to essentially stencil it out. So, but I did a guest spot at a shop in Indiana with Sean King, who is awesome. And their house just had so much art in it. And he was talking so much about painting and style. And I was like, I gotta friggin' paint.
Yeah,
But
I dig that.
we'll see where it takes me. We're not there yet.
So yeah, man, getting hidden inspirations is always awesome. I've been getting inspired a lot by the people that have been tattooing me. And that's not something that usually happened in the past. So it's really cool when you like change up your environment and you find enjoyment somewhere else in your life that you've got. You know, like I like going to a guest spot and getting inspired and coming home and being a different person.
Yeah, for
Amber,
sure.
I'm sure. What's up?
Oh, I just said for sure.
Yeah, dude, it's a nice thing. And Amber, I'm sure you're experiencing a lot of new inspiration being in the shop.
Yes, being in a shop environment again is great. I missed it.
Yeah, I bet. It's it's something to be said about being in the tattoo shop. It's like the barber shop,
Yes,
you know, like
I agree.
you could go there and you can hang out for hours and days and do nothing yet solve all the world's problems with all your new
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah, right now the shop's getting ready for their Friday the 13th event. So
Okay.
I've been helping getting ready for that and meeting a bunch of the locals that come in all the time.
Hell yeah. So how often are you there?
Until they made me leave.
That's awesome.
Basically until a little while after they closed and they're like, all right, we're going home to our wives now. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll see you Tuesday.
That's rad. That's rad. So you're working a full schedule with them?
Yes, I'm allowed there 7 days a week if I want to be.
No shit. That's awesome.
I'm like, if I didn't have to, schedule doctor's appointments and occasionally sleep, I'd be here 7 days a week. But
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Like excited to see your journey, see where you go from here. You know, it's hard to do something new, especially as an old dog, like we're not supposed
this
to.
is my third apprenticeship.
No shit. So what's been going on with all your priors?
Well, my priors were both by the same person, 20 some years apart.
Okay.
But old biker dude, second time around, I paid for my apprenticeship and he ghosted with my money and his partner's money.
Oh, cool.
Fun.
That's never
But
fun.
he's dead now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Take that.
So how do you feel about that?
Karma is a bitch.
Okay. I feel you. Yeah.
When he ghosted, he shacked up with this chick in Pennsylvania that he used to go to high school with, who was obsessed with him back then. She poisoned him.
Wow.
Shit.
Wow. Damn.
Bar what you eat.
Yeah, right. Fuck, man. Whew. That kind of, I guess, would lead me into the topic that I have.
Nuts ass shit happens to me all the time.
It seems like it, but you know what? All tattooers have a lot of nutty shit. All people. I mean, it's wild when you have these conversations about like how weird life is.
Yeah.
And, somebody that doesn't look like they'd have a weird life jumps in the conversation. Then they start telling their truth, and it's like, wow, you don't just have to be a wacky tattooer to have a fucked up life story. You just have to be born.
I had surprise twins that didn't know I was pregnant until I was 8 months pregnant.
Wow. God
Weird
bless
ass shit
America.
happens to me all the time.
Wow.
Hey. You're not the one traumatized from that.
I think you all are traumatized
A
from
little. I didn't know there were twins either now. Remember
Right.
that.
Right. Man,
You didn't have to deal with the doctor looking at you saying there's a foot hanging out of you.
Whew.
We've all been there.
Yeah, we've all been there.
How did you handle it? Please explain, because I'm
Yeah,
still
right.
working.
I just tried to find the owner of the foot.
I thought my kid lost his foot.
Oh, she did. She asked me, she's like, does Dylan have both of his feet?
I really thought Dylan lost one of his feet.
I mean, I have lost one of my feet, so I get it.
I was scared.
Yeah, that
was
long
almost 4
shot.
years ago. 4 years ago in April.
Wow. Yeah. Having twins is more than I ever thought I could handle or wanted to handle.
But since then, I have almost fully bought my childhood home from my great grandmother. So my kids can be raised here. My mom is actually currently sitting in the room I grew up in.
No
with
shit.
her.
That is wild. I love that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wound up back in this room again.
For now.
Full circle events. It's an
Yes.
odd place, yeah. And that's just kind of the topic I wanted to run with today was the human experience, and like everything we're talking about is just a part of that, and just being
Yeah.
human, and how the ride is a fucking ride. and it's weird and it's difficult and it's hard to figure out. And there's so much uncertainty, so much lack of experience until you go through it. And then like one of the worst parts for me is when you have experienced something and then you go through it again and it's still as hard as fuck.
I know. It's like, I experienced this. I learned how to navigate this. Why isn't this easier to navigate if I know what I'm doing now?
Right. Like, why don't I have patience if I've fucking been taught the lessons on how to learn patience so many times?
Because patience is an ongoing lesson. It never ends.
Yes, that's the truth. And that's one of the things that I've learned about patience and everything else in life. It's always an ongoing thing. We never really know what we're doing. We never really get to the end of it because there is no real end until this body fails us, you know? So it's an interesting time.
Yeah, Dusty.
Oh,
just
Tess,
disappeared.
Oh, I'm still listening. I'm grabbing a brush.
oh no, Tess made a weird face and like me and Amber caught it and we're like, okay, what's going on, dude?
But then
No.
it looked like she was looking at Dusty's square, and I looked at Dusty's square, and he's just not there. And I was like, okay, that was weird.
She blanked me from existence.
That's
No,
right.
I heard a crash. So I was
Oh.
just like, what?
Oh yeah, I heard that too. It was your children.
I am well aware of that, but I was also listening to see if I heard, child noises after the fact.
Right, the crash that needed to be cleaned up after, or just a crash.
It's
Yeah.
like living with the Animaniacs.
I could
They
imagine.
are the Animaniacs.
How many do you have there?
Irish triplets.
Yeah. That's a
Literally,
lot.
Irish triplets.
What does that mean?
The kids are 13 months and 17 days apart. The
Gotcha.
twins from my oldest.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
man.
When I went in for my first ultrasound and everything, after I found out, they're like, oh, you're due on the 17th. The 17th of what? April? Next month. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's
I was
not-
expecting them to, say 6 months because that's how long it's been since I left the West Coast.
Mm.
But yeah, no.
Life's
No.
a funny thing when it does weird stuff.
And
They won't
everything
throw you
happens for a
anything you
reason.
can't handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I question it sometimes.
Well, you can handle it, you just might not want to.
Ding ding.
They're all in school now, so it's lovely.
So that's an interesting part about being an older parent. I missed a lot of Jaden's life because I was constantly on the road and constantly tattooing, even when I was home. So one of the things we're thinking of doing is unschooling Zen.
Yeah.
Which is like, you don't send them to school, you don't follow a curriculum. It's homeschooling without a curriculum. So like they're interested in planets, you teach them planet stuff and like take them to the planetarium and like do all kinds of shit like that. And like along the way, teach them life skills that are necessary and important. So I feel like that's a very bold move to make, putting your kid in that type of situation and then never having a break from them. But also I feel like it's something that could be really valuable for his development as a human because, he'll be going to yoga classes with us. He'll be going to the gym with us. He'll be, like going to art shows and like doing all the things that I do. And I will teach him how to be the way I be. And if he wants me to teach him things that he wants to be, we teach him how he could be.
I think it is very important to the development of all children to spend at least one season in the wild being raised by the deer people. So consider that for summer curriculum.
I'm with
How does being raised by hippies sound? Is that good?
Right. I mean, we're
I
almost,
think it's kind of the same thing.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
almost there. You know what I'm saying?
I
I mean,
was raised by hippies.
yeah, it
I
works.
don't like the idea of any child that doesn't know how to forage for berries.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. Those children need to learn these skills.
What are they teaching in the schools these days?
Children should
Diarrhea
know how
and
to
serum.
get their own food.
Right. And like look at the curriculums and the way they've changed over the years. You know, like when I was a kid, you know, you learned how to write cursive and you learned, you know, basic arithmetic and so on and so forth. Now cursive
You
is
had home
missing.
ec and you had shop.
Right, right. And like one of my favorite classes, I failed algebra 2, and they put me in consumer economics, which is basically like how to do life math. So like taught you how to balance your checkbook, taught you about like getting a loan. What's
And
that?
that's
Which is
something
That's a
everyone
thing?
should learn.
It's so
It
wild to
was.
me.
That's not
They-
fair.
They were
Right.
like, hey, you're not great at algebra, so instead we're just going to teach you actual real world valuable lessons, as
Right.
opposed to being like, hey, you know, real world lessons, you want to learn math. Like, I love that the alternative was some actual useful shit and not the standard.
And that's where we lie, and you know, having the feelings about wanting to unschool him, because it's like, who the fuck wrote these curriculums? How old are these curriculums? What are they actually teaching our kids? And like, I hate
None.
having that conversation sometimes because I feel bad for the people that are like so balls deep into the school system and like, fuck, I love school and I love the curriculums and I think our school system's amazing. I don't think our school system's amazing. So if I'm offending you, if I'm triggering you, I apologize deeply. Well, I'm speaking to the audience more so than you guys.
Yeah.
I am so offended.
I'm sure you are, Dusty. You get offended at everything.
Coming from
That's
somebody
me.
that graduated, what, in 2015, I didn't learn shit.
Right. You know, like I took like 3 years of Spanish and still don't really know Spanish hardly at all.
I took 3 years of French. I can cuss you out in French.
And you probably learned that on the street, not in school. So, you know, like,
I learned most of my Spanish from my 4-foot tall Mexican albino orangutan of a grandma.
That
Don't
was a
insult your
sentence to
grandmother on
unpack.
there.
I will.
that was
That was one of my favorite memes for the longest time. Was like any kid that was like, I don't know how to balance a checkbook. Well, what do you know? That the fucking mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell or whatever. And it's like all this shit that's cool to know if you're into science, but
right.
you know,
I feel
teach
attacked.
that stuff. Get humans ready for the basic tenets of life. Teach them how to like cook and how to balance a checkbook and change a flat tire and to forage for berries in the woods. And then when they get to that point, like, hey, do you fuck with science? Okay, cool. You're gonna learn about cells. Or hey,
Right.
do you really like English? Okay, well, we're gonna teach you how to write a book. I feel like those are definitely the later problems of the world. History's cool. Everybody should learn history, or else you end
But
up
at the
with a
same
lot of
time-
people that don't get what's going on. But for the most part, yeah, like teach human skills first and then be like, okay, cool, let's learn how to do fucking chemistry or whatever.
I still have beef with history too, because whose history are we teaching? You know, whose version?
Yeah,
of
whose
it?
version of it?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
now that is very
Wrap it up.
fair.
Sorry.
I like
Um,
world history.
This,
Right,
Yeah,
I think
world
world,
history is
world
cool.
history,
I'm a bit of an
and-
archaeology nerd.
definitely
Right.
not religious history. No offense to any religious people.
Or even just
I'm
I'm not
American
religious,
history.
but I do find religious history interesting.
Right. I feel like
And that's not to say there isn't religious history that is interesting. I guess I mean that more from the standpoint of I feel like a lot of American curriculum is based on what rich white Christians want us to know.
Yes.
Which is why a lot of like really shitty parts of history that was kind of our bad is swept under the rug a bit.
And just glossed
And,
over.
I think it's a little melodramatic to compare some people in current American politics straight up to Hitler. But I think if you don't teach how bad all of that was, that's kind of how you potentially end up with other Hitlers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
we got to kind of teach the warning signs for cult leaders and mass murderers and shitty people so that
I don't
we
necessarily
stop
think the
electing them to
comparison to
office.
Hitler is all that melodramatic.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing is if you do think that it's super melodramatic, that's how you kind of end up with the next one, and you're like, I mean, it's not that bad. And then, you know, people are like storming the Capitol building trying to overthrow the government. And you kind of have to be like, maybe it is kind of bad.
Right. No, and like
crazy notion, but
I believe that, you know, everyone needs to be taught like actual things. Dude, did you just paint all over your sketch?
I did. I wasn't feeling it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I gessoed it.
Why don't you just fucking reorient the image and make it up and down so that way you can get more of her?
I might. I don't know. Here's my issue with everything.
Okay, let's hear.
You may be surprised to know I have issues with patience. And so I shocker. I sketched it out and then I was like, no, I need to actually sketch it out better and not just like I made a grid half-assed sketch of it. So, you know, I'm going to let this gesso dry and then take a second stab and make myself actually spend hours really doing a good sketch to paint
Rendering
over.
it.
So like there's a lot to unpack in that whole statement. It's funny because like I don't ever plan fully my art before I get to it. I just pick something up and start vomiting paint or ink or whatever it is, the medium. And it's just interesting how as artists, we are so hypercritical of the beginning stage of our own shit. Meanwhile, there's someone next to us feeling exactly as hypercritical, and we look over at theirs and we're like, huh, man, I wish I fucking arted like you. You art so hard.
Uh-huh.
Dude, okay.
I feel that way about Roberto all the time.
Right.
I'm gonna do a crazy shout out here to Fox and Sparrow Tattoo in Muncie, Indiana, because that's where I was at this weekend. And they were super cool shop, super nice people. Everything about it was really fun. But these motherfuckers, and I say that emphatically, these fucking no good assholes, legit, like tattoo half sleeves in 12 minutes. It was the most, like, that's slight hyperbole, but like, it was insane. Their shop, I went in Friday and they were like, hey, Saturday will be busier. Don't expect the world necessarily today. We'll kind of see what happens. But you know, it's a Friday, it's a weekday. We open at noon. People are still at work. I ended up doing 6 walk-ins that day. Super fun. Had a good time. Got paid well. Turned around and handed it all right back to them in exchange for a damn Cuban machine that Sean was selling that I really wanted.
I love those machines.
Dude, he had a DMC2 that's discontinued, and I've been, since I talked to you about him, looking and keeping an eye out. And he's like, oh, I got one in my drawer. Try it out on the tattoo. You like it? I'll give you, you know, cheaper than it was new, whatever. Worked out super well. But yeah, these motherfuckers, I'm like cooking through these walk-ins, like an hour a piece, fun stuff, talking with people, having a good time. And one of them will be like, oh, I'm starting this whole thigh piece. And then I like finish these 2 little matching bees, and I look up and I was like, where'd your client go? They're, oh, I'm done. Like, they flew. And it was so hard to, like, I'm usually pretty good artistically about not looking at my neighbor's plate too much, but from a standpoint of just how quick and solid their stuff was, that it just like boom, done, it shook my confidence internally a little bit, that I'm like, okay, let's get this line perfect. And they're just like, oh, perfect line's cool. Here's your sleeve, bye. And it wasn't in a dickhead way. Sometimes you go to shops and they're like, yeah, whatever, get it done, get out of here. Like, they were really pleasant people. They were good to their clients, and still just so obnoxiously efficient. It hurt my feelings a little bit.
No, dude, and that's the thing. Like, it's so weird. Like, things like speed and efficiency and money tend to get in our way. You know, I don't know how many fucking times I've felt less than because I didn't bring in the money I was expecting to bring in at a convention, or in a day at a tattoo shop. Just feeling like, and not even mad that I didn't make the money, but literally feeling less than as a human because I didn't make the money that I had hoped or expected to make.
Yeah.
That's really interesting how like we compare ourselves so deeply to things that others are doing, sometimes, and it doesn't make sense because like why would me not making money make me any less than? Why would you being faster than me or me being faster than you make me any less than? But like for some reason we just really make that a thing. And it's interesting navigating through that. And like,
Yeah.
how do you pick yourself back up? Like I had a moment today where I felt like I didn't get picked for something. And I was like, well, when I did get picked for it, I wasn't even able to show up really the whole way through. So that's why I didn't get picked again. And it's like, it's just so interesting how there's always this like level of loss, even if you don't want something necessarily, or
Yeah.
don't have space for something, you feel like you've lost something. So I know that was kind of a little bit more of a different tangent than what you were saying, but I feel like still in the same vein, Dusty.
No, I totally get that. And it's funny, like that's why realism has always fucked with me so much, because you're talking about how you can just paint and go with it. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna paint this person, I want it to put in this work. If you were just like draw a panther, oh sweet, I know those shapes by heart. So it's weird that everybody has their own methods, and to be able to in my head know that everybody has their methods and how they make it work, and to say that and acknowledge it and be fine with it, while equally being like, well, what the fuck? Why does their method work so much better? And just so funny that you're like, you know how the process works and you're fine with that and you're very chill, while at the same time being like, well, damn it, I want to have their success or their, speed or their artistic ability to just see this fucking chick and draw her like it's nothing.
Dude,
it's so crazy.
I've always been that way about human drawing. Drawing, tattooing, painting humans. Man, it's fucking difficult for me. It scared the shit out of me so much to the point where like, I just kind of avoided it for a long time. And now I don't even give a fuck. Now I'm like, all right, well, I know I'm going to do this and I'll probably turn out well. And if it doesn't turn out well, I'll tell myself how much I hate myself for not doing a good job. And everyone else will tell me how a good job I did. So like, it's not really a thing. But yeah, no, dude, that whole concept of like, I can't do this, but I can't, and I can't do it to the way I want to because that guy does it better. Like Jimmy Litwalk, this dude has always fucking drawn the coolest, cutest fucking cartoon pinups. I could probably look at that stuff now and figure out how to fucking efficiently put it together. But at least for 10 years, I had no idea how he did it. And I thought he was magic, like,
yeah,
I would make myself feel less than because of it,
I have a trick to pinups. Every single pinup I've ever done has been a silhouette of Dita Von Teese in a different position. She's got the perfect silhouette for a pinup.
Huh, interesting.
I love her.
Hell yeah.
And she's there's a million photos of her in a million different pinup positions. So every time I do a pinup, I use Dita Von Teese's silhouette as the pinup.
Huh, interesting. That's cool as shit. So like with Jimmy Litwalk, he was always doing cartoony stuff, so I couldn't even like really pull that.
Yeah.
When you pull a cartoon pinup versus a realistic pinup, there's exaggerations that need to happen. There's like little things that happen with the faces that make them simpler but still beautiful and like readable. Like the traditional pinups, like they don't really fucking look like women's faces, but they've got enough.
Yeah,
you got two little curls for the nostrils and a little M shape for the lips, and that's it. And I was talking with people in Indiana about that do realism over the weekend that were like, oh, I can't do traditional, it's too simple. And I was like, no, it's not that it's too simple, it's that your brain is fighting you because it's not true light source and it's not true proportion. It's just it's almost so easy that you have to turn off your brain where it's going, oh, this is where the gleam on the cheekbone should be. Like, no, just make a face shape on a circle. That's your person.
That's been my hardest struggle with traditional over the years, because my brain has been teaching itself how to over-dimensionalize things and overcomplicate things. not to oversimplify, but the beautiful balance in that struggle. And I feel like this goes through every part of life, not just art. You have to figure out how to make it simple in the creative process while also making it look difficult to the onlooker.
Yeah.
To settle into a place of quality, balanced quality, you know, for me with, you know, fucking, I would like break down my color fades to like 6 different tones when I was younger. And it was so much more work. But if I just fucking ride with, you know, 3-4 tones, I can even get away with 2 tones if I fucking blend them right. And I can still get a really cool effect here.
Without as much work.
Right. You know, like Josh Payne, many years ago, when I was seeing him on the road a lot, I remember just watching him and like really breaking down his work and studying it. And I asked him one time, I'm like, how do you get so fast? Like, I seen you fucking bang a whole, you know, chest plate, you know, in a day session. And he's like, dude, look at what I do. He's like, I break things down so simple. He's like, I have large fields of color. So everything is just a simple motion filling in that color. I have nice smooth blends. You know, I fucking do circles and then I whip. And then I go into the next color and I whip into that. And then I do circles, and then I whip. And I'm like, whoa. And like that's simply the simplification of that was like a very big pivotal part of my career. Because it made me really, because I always wanted to go bigger with everything. So it made me push for bigger. That way I can be faster, which is weird because like, you know, when you're doing things bigger, it shouldn't be faster, but it's simpler. And then it's still tech as fuck in the end because people are like, wow, look at those white highlights. I'm like, yeah, I got 10 minutes of white highlights in this whole fucking thing. Tattoo's this big and it took me 4 hours, you know? Yeah. So it's really interesting, like how your brain, given the right information and given the right amount of logic, can actually figure things out the way you need it to. And it's just weird that our brain does that. And it takes work and it takes processing and it takes fucking finding knowledge and information and then putting it all together in a stew and then letting it simmer and then throwing some patience on. Man, these squirrels are brave. This squirrel just fucking ran up the fucking screen on the outside, and the cat and one of the dogs, the one dog is going the opposite way, but the cat's fucking tracking him. Sorry, took me off there. But yeah, you know, like that
squirrel.
Yeah, a squirrel. The level of simplicity that it takes to be tech and to be solid and to be proficient is really weird. And then that leads me to one of my favorite quotes that I hate when it bites me in the ass. Simple, not easy.
Yeah, you and me both.
Because like I literally, so I signed up with a coaching program last year and the dude's like, yeah, man, it's simple to get your fucking shit, you know, off the ground. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm like, simple. I'm ignoring the not easy part in the back of my head. It's speaking very lowly. I'm telling it to shut up. I'm ignoring it. You know, like I'm treating it like a nag. And then all of a sudden that simple turned into not easy. And I was like, motherfuck. Why didn't I trust myself on the simple, not easy thing? Why did I just think simple and go with it? So it's interesting how we can do that to ourselves and that can happen to us in life.
Story of my life.
Right. And it's really weird. Like we should be better at getting out of our own way, but we're so good at getting into our own way that we have a really hard time like acknowledging. Because like, dude, me and Dusty, we'll have the same conversation to each other about what's going on and we'll give each other the best advice. But the guy on the receiving end of the advice is still going to have a harder time executing the advice than the guy giving the advice, even if the guy giving the advice is the guy that just received it, or if the guy that's receiving the advice just gave it. Like no matter what, there's there's always this level of standing in your own way. And I'm really like, I'm having these odd moments in my life where that gets more apparent to me. And I'm like, dude, if you just fucking not do that, then this is going to be smooth. And it's like, oh, and usually the not do that is like, don't worry about this. Don't put so much effort into that. Don't fucking put this way. Like, it's really weird how you can get stuck in the rumination loop and the doom loop about something that has really no relevance in your life.
It's funny. I meant to say something to you prior to this, but it's just funny because of the timing that the last time we had like a long phone conversation a couple weeks ago, maybe, that we talked about the whole idea of if you're trying to force something, just stop, because it will, if it was meant to be, it'll kind of show itself when it needs to show itself. And it's funny because earlier we were just talking all that about how I saw your Cuban back in like August, and I've been kind of keeping an eye out for one since then. And you were telling me about them and how they push the 123s, and I've been researching, but every time he builds a couple more, he puts out an email, they're gone before you can blink and all that stuff. So I go to Indiana, and just by total chance, Sean has one, and he's like, he does like soft painterly stuff. He owned a shop with Carlton for years and all that. So he's like, I love this thing, but it just doesn't do anything I need. Ends up selling it to me for real cheap, all that fun stuff. Well, then because I had kind of like backed off, of course I just fall into one. So then I come back, I go to unpack my stuff, and I get to the shop, and a bunch of stuff is moved around because we have Joshua Scott left aisle 9, and he's going to be pitch hitting at our shop for a little bit while he kind of figures out what he's doing and blah, blah, blah. So we moved some stuff to make room for him. And there's a guy there that is super awesome dude, but he hasn't done a tattoo since I started working at this shop back in the summer. He apprenticed for a couple of years, and it was kind of more of a hobby thing. And he's got a day job and a wife and kids. And so the owner kind of let him keep his stuff there more than anything, just as their friends, and there was room for it. Well, now there's not quite as much room, so he's selling it all off. Or I bought his chair. Our apprentice bought like his power supply and his toolbox and a bunch of stuff. The top row of the toolbox, there's a bunch of seeds. Hey, I got some machines in there for sale if anybody wants them. So I open it up, and sure as shit, there's a fucking Cuban sidewinder with a nice tube and everything sitting right there. So
Nice.
I bought that one too.
Wow.
But so I was like, cool, now I got two. But it was that exact, I was going to text you and make a joke about it, that like, of course, I turned my brain off to something, and then they just start popping up like they're not hard to get. And
Yep.
It's that same advice that I can give it to you all day, but when I have to learn it for myself, I have to learn it the hard way.
Yep. And it's
Yeah.
weird because like when you gave me that advice, that stuck, man. It stuck hard, and I don't know why. It's continually like at the forefront of my decision making when I start to get impatient. But like probably because it's really good advice, and it's advice I give. And when you fucking give me advice that I give, it kind of like, it's almost like if you do it nicely, it's a kind fuck you, and you don't even realize it.
It's like when women in the South say, bless your heart.
Right, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, man. And it's like, fuck, man. One of my biggest struggles that I always want to make sure I do is walk the talk. Well, if it's my fucking talk and it's getting talked back to me, why the fuck am I not walking it if I already know it's my talk?
Well,
and it's not exclusive
to
what's up
with like, it's easier too with kind of universal truths that we all have with our feelings. If somebody comes to you and they get on and they say, oh, I'm going through this thing where my daughter is doing this, and this is going on. It's like people can get specific situations, and it's a little harder to be like, oh, I don't have a kid, so I can't put myself in your shoes. But something as simple and universally truthful as, hey, if you're stressing out and forcing things, it's not going to work out. Just stop and kind of let it happen. I don't give a fuck if you're, man, woman, other, fucking living in Brazil, living in the States, 80 years old, fucking 3 years old. Like, that's just a good truth. And it's so much easier when someone kind of throws it back in your face to stop and be like, damn, this really applies to a lot, versus that really weird, specific niche advice that you're like, okay, kind of like, this is an easy one to stew in, and we all go through it. So it's a little easier to take and just kind of let, really marinate.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And it's funny because like, so last week was annoying in certain aspects, because Monday, one of the artists that just moved to the state, he'd had a couple of run-ins with one of our artists, and like it didn't really go so well, and I just don't think we were able to provide the volume of work he was looking for. So he leaves on Monday, and then we had to fire somebody on Friday. So that advice has hit me real nice, you know, because usually at this point I'm like, oh my God, the shop's going to close because I don't have enough artists, and now we're not going to be able to pay the bills, you know, and I start worrying so much, right? And I didn't do that this time. I was just like, well, if I start freaking out now, the artists that are meant to be here aren't going to be here because the energy is going to be wrong. And so, you know, I love both of these guys dearly, but it just sucks that it didn't work for both of them in our studio. Now I just need to know that there's people out there that I don't know or do love or don't love, or, you know, there's people out there that are going to show up, and my studio is going to be fully funded and supported. You know, I'm always going to have enough folks in there to keep it rolling. And, you know, at some point in time, we'll all be making lots of money because of it, you know?
Yeah. And if
like,
one of the guys that just came through was having issues with the volume of work, because I see you guys putting out a good bit, it's not like you're a slow shop, but if he was expecting, you know, 6 walk-ins a day, banger, 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 then like, if he wasn't the right fit, it's kind of that whole same thing about trying to force the square peg in the round hole. That
right.
You know, are you going to be happier with an empty seat that you're trying to fill with the right person versus having someone there that you're like, yeah, I like them, but they're being a pain in the ass.
Right. And that was the thing. Like, he's an amazing dude. His work ethic was phenomenal. He would take anything that walked through the door. He's got a giant family, dude. He's got a lot of people that live in his household, and he's got to support a lot of people. So like, I get it. I mean, I'm bummed out about it. But at the end of the day, if you're not meant to be here, you're not going to be here. So me lamenting over you being here or not being here isn't going to fucking make anyone's situation better. You know, like, he's hustling and crushing it where he's at now. And that's making me happy to see him thriving and not just surviving, you know? But also at the same time, he was good enough to know he's like, hey man, this isn't for me right now. And if I am meant to be here again, you know, this may not be the end of our relationship working together. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm with it. So it's really interesting to go from like mass exodus times last year with tattooers, and, you know, I had a bunch of folks leaving, you know, one after the other. And then having to make peace with the fact that what was my fault was my fault. I can adjust and shift and make that not happen again. And what's meant for me is meant for me, and the new people that are meant for me are going to be here. And so it's really interesting how life will teach you, like I said earlier with the patience thing, you know, how I fucking thought I had patience, but life needs to keep teaching me that. And life needs to keep teaching me perseverance as a business owner, because perseverance as a business owner is hard as fuck. And like, you get in your feelings about that shit real easy. And me and Josh talked about, you know, Josh Scott, you know, we talked about, you know, his next endeavors and what it's like to be in a seat that I'm in. And if he is interested in a seat like that for himself, it's a hard fucking seat.
I had a long talk with him that I think he would be a cool shop owner. I think he would do a good job. I think he's got a lot of really interesting ideas, and he's been really doing his homework. But I also told him, and this is mildly a selfish telling him, because I just like the guy and we're homies and we like to travel together. But I was like, hey, he's got a really good relationship with the owner of our shop. We do a lot of cool stuff. We had room for him. So it was very like, why don't you come to our shop? Because he had a couple things lined up still that he needed to finish, and you know, appointment wise and some sessions. And I was like, why don't you come do that? But why don't you hang out for, you know, until the summertime, or maybe even until the fall or the winter? Take a year, ask our owner a million questions, learn even more, visit around, go to other shops, see how they're, you know, most shops are going to be cool about showing you how they operate and giving you the knowledge they do have. And I was like, take a year to just travel when you can. I know he's got kids, but like travel, do tattoos, take some walk-ins, book some more appointments, work at a shop that is vastly different than the situation he just left, which he wasn't really happy with. And just remember why you love it and do your thing. And it may turn into you're not being so micromanaged and so gutted for money that you just are happy to just kind of be an independent contractor and do tattoos again. You may end up a year from now still being like, no, I want to open it. I want to do my vision. But I'm trying to convince him to slow down and take his time a little bit. And like I said, it's 80% best interest and 20% selfishness, because I'm like, you're super cool. Come fucking tattoo with me. I want to hang out. But
no, but the best
I'm
interest
hoping he does.
Dude, the best interest part of that is like, we opened our shop in urgency. The shop that I was working at when I came to town is the shop that closed down and we went into their space.
Yeah.
So now I didn't really have a place that I felt comfortable working at. So we were like, fuck, let's just open a shop. And I'm not going to say we rushed it, but like we had a fucking time frame and that was frustrating. And then COVID fucked things up. So then our time frame just kept like getting wider and wider and weirder and weirder. So to add to what you're saying, yeah, man, it would be fucking great if like I had a year to like strategize and plan and put my patience in check to open my studio.
Yeah, and so much of his situation, and you kind of know the backstory, was built around a shop that, you know, kind of primed him to charge a certain amount and do a certain bit that he did like, while at the same time micromanaging, stifling any sort of leadership among the staff. No personal effects at your booth, no personality. We don't really promote you a lot, X, Y, and Z. And I think he feels just so micromanaged and beaten into a certain hole that
he feels like
he's kind of forgotten that as a tattoo artist, if you're at a good shop, even the way I felt about your guys at your shop and a lot of other shops I've been to, you promote them. You not only accept, but you actively kind of promote their personality. You know, at the shop I'm at now, Aura's a big crystal vibes, love hippie. I'm a fucking goofball. Our owner's a mid-40s dad that was in the military and rides motorcycles. Everyone's got their thing. And our owner is actively like, that's fucking tight. Let who you are shine. Be yourself. Because if you've just got a shop of 6 fucking hard asses, then no one's the hard ass or whatever.
Right.
And I think he'll get into that and realize that he can be somewhere that not only encourages him being himself, but like, dude, hang your fucking shit on the wall, stretch your feet, charge what you want to charge, consult the way you want to consult, listen to the music you like, eat the food you want. Like, you kind of get to almost be a business owner anyways, just being a tattoo artist, if you're at the right shop that really operates like a friendship and a family and lets everyone do their thing. And our owner is so like, you know, just throw the money in my drawer at the end of the day. I trust you. It's, you know, you keep track of your money. It's not like I need a fucking 10-point breakdown of every dollar you made and where it went and why. And I think a lot of people would benefit from a position like that, no matter what industry they work in, to just kind of remember they can be themselves. And just with what he came from that was so micromanaged, that, like you said, just to have that year to breathe and to do your thing. He, you know, just might take a step back and be like, oh shit, this is fun. And not having the, no offense as a shop owner to you, but like it's pretty tight to just be like, hey man, this shop in Indiana hit me up, and then in February I'm gonna go to Rad Inc, and then March is Cleveland Convention and Evergreen out in Oregon, and he's just like, awesome, have fun. Like, tell me if you need anything. And as opposed to if you're a business owner, who's going to watch this? Who's going to do that? Are you all scheduled? Who's going to pay these fucking bills? Because we got bills. Are the lights going to get turned off? Like,
well, and that's why I have it the way I have it, because you just have to tell us and we can do that.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and Brittany does a really good job with your guys' shop of keeping the wheels moving.
And I don't have to be a part of that. You know, like, she manages that. She gets compensated for that. And then that's that there. But yeah, no, like at the staff I'm at now, it would be hard to let people fucking travel around right now. But that's why I have as many chairs as I do. And, you know, I want everybody to have what you just said, you know, like that's a cool thing And it's been weird trying to figure out who as a business owner I'm going to be, because I was real stringent for a period there, and I was really loose for a period there. Now it's like, hey man, I just kind of want this from you, and this is what I'm gonna give you, and let's hang out. So
Yeah, there's a healthy middle ground, and when you get the right people, you can operate that way without worry.
Absolutely. And like
getting the right people. Ooh.
That's the thing. The staff I have now, like they like two of the dudes I worked with before this shop, and then the one was one of my former apprentices, and they're all like, they're riders. You know, they ride for the fucking shop. The one dude, he likes to quit all the time because he wants to quit tattooing in general. And then he's like, I'll go crazy if I quit tattooing.
I was about to say, I can't imagine quitting tattooing. I'll go crazy.
Oh, he keeps saying, I'm going to retire. So Brittany doesn't let him retire. If he takes a box in to fucking put his stuff, she'll throw away the box. And like, this little game of cat and mouse. But like with him, you know, me and him got beef like one time. But at the end of the day, he's always there for us. You know, it's like, it's really cool. When you have your people, when you found your people, you know you have your people. You know they're there for you. You know they ride for you. That reflects in who they are. And sometimes we just get a little funky. Like that's, dude, one of the things I was talking to with this one dude I'm going to do an interview with later. When something goes wrong, I always expect it to end the relationship. And having artists in my shop that like, they can mess up, I can mess up, but like, as long as we're doing like, you know, a C- mess up rather than a full-on F mess up, you know, like we can recover. You know what I'm saying? And like that's I'm learning a lot.
If that mess up really does send them on their way, they probably weren't the people you wanted to fuck with anyways. Like life kind of handed you a secret win there, a harsh win, but sometimes it takes a C+ fuck up to make you realize who isn't really about certain things.
Right. Yeah, so it's been a weird ride, and we're rolling in like 3 years almost of owning you know, having this shop running, and it's been a motherfucking ride, and it's interesting. So I'm interested to see what the next few years bring, because I feel like we've gotten a lot of the kinks worked out, you know, and when you start understanding your systems and processes, it gets a little easier. But like, once again, that goes into life. When you've lived enough life seems to get a little easier in some essences. So it's kind of nice to just get your program together and getting my program together. And like, you're finding your place, settling in, Dusty, you know, with the new shop and really loving it. Fucking Amber, you're finding your way in the new shop. I
am.
You know, I'm finding my way in life because I have a lot I want to do, and I don't know how I want to do it all or how I'm going to have time to do it all. So it's a weird ride. I've been in a weird transition probably for about 6 months now, where I just don't even really know who I want to be when I grow up, because I've got so many options of who I can be. And I want to be so many people, you know, like I just got off a phone call today with a dude that wants to help me fucking put together my speaker package and like help book me jobs speaking on stages. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. How much is this going to like suck when I get it? And then it's too much, you know, like, so I have to really figure out what I want to do when I want to do it. And I feel like we all kind of have that, you know, what do I want to do? When do I want to do it? And how do I get there? Like, how do I make that decision?
Yeah, you got to figure out how much of yourself is too much to give.
Yeah.
And that drops back into that classic advice about forcing it and versus stepping back to let it take its spot, because I'm a fickle, shitty person in a lot of ways, and it's so funny to be like, you could ask me on Monday, like, do you want this? And I'm like, I've been thinking about this for months, if not years, more than anything in the world. And then you might ask me that Wednesday, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to just like open up a fucking roller skating rink instead? So you like really do have to be sure, because nothing sucks worse the only thing that sucks worse than not getting what you want sometimes is getting what you
Getting
want.
what you want.
And then it not being what you want.
And then being like, ow. Okay. Yeah, just
Yeah,
that like
I didn't realize
very,
what
like,
I wanted
fuck
was
moment.
this.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me the other day, how's the coaching program going? And my answer was, I hated being at home all the time, being stuck in a room, being on these fucking sales phone calls and like trying to like, get people to sign up with me. And that was my hustle. And then the work itself wasn't hard, but leading to the work was super hard. And like, I didn't really see the family because I was always in the room, and then if I did see them, I was stressed out and running back and forth between the room because I was between calls. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, I do want to coach. I do want to love people. I do want to help people. I do want to guide people. I do want to mentor people, but I can't make that my whole life. And I thought I was going to. And like, that was a perfect example of getting what you want and then not wanting what you got, and then having to fucking reevaluate, what do you really want?
Mm.
And the funny thing is, and you and I have talked about this specifically, but you're like, oh, I want to coach, I want to mentor, I want to do these classes, and you want and you want and you want, and you still want to do it, and then you get to do it, and it is kind of that like, oh, okay, because you got it in that form, and like, it's potentially not necessarily the form for you for what you want.
Right.
Versus how many videos do you put out that people comment on that they're like, Robbie, I needed to hear this. How many clients do you sit down with every week that you're like, okay, so what's up, player? And they just start spilling the beans. Like, you do mentor, you do coach,
right.
You do love on people, you do all of this stuff. Maybe that's just not the way that you want or need to be doing it in this particular season.
Yeah.
Versus, the fucking next winter, the shop's up and running with the new artists, everything's a little more on autopilot. People are coming to you for the class, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, well it fit this time, it just flowed.
Right.
But you're not trying to force that. I keep saying the square peg in the round hole, and it sounds weirdly sexual, but
it makes sense. So I see the kids' toy.
It works.
Yeah.
And actually, Zen has that toy. There's a star, a square, a circle, a triangle, a couple other different.
Yeah.
So like, I see the toy. No, but you're absolutely right, man. And that was the thing. Like, yeah, sure, I could be your typical entrepreneur and hustle so hard that I have a chip on my shoulder against the people that don't hustle as hard. And I could fucking be a multimillionaire because of it. And I could also be miserable.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'm not looking for misery, dog. I'm looking for fucking time freedom and financial freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to have freedom to do with my time rather than be stuck doing things that don't light me on fire just so I can get financial freedom.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you do those things your way as you,
yes,
those freedoms will come because you realize, okay, I want to coach, I want to consult, I want to do this. Well, I'm doing it while tattooing, and guess what? That makes me fucking $2,000 a day. Or I want to do it over YouTube, and I've got X amount of subscribers, so they start paying me, and then you're just living your life the way you want to, and you come off as authentic instead of a salesman because you're just being fucking Miley, and people love that shit, and you just get to make money and do exactly what you do versus like trying to. It has to be through this avenue. It has to be in this way.
Yes.
And you're that kind of personality that stuff just shines through anyway. So it's, it's not like you're a quiet, meek person and it's hard to figure out how you are and what you want. It's like, no, it's pretty apparent.
Yeah. And the whole thing is like, I've seen my social medias blowing up in a lot of different avenues. I see monetization there. And it's like all these things that I've always wanted. I'm getting thousands of views on all the videos that I post, having people saying, hey, I needed this today. Well, that's like, essentially that's what I wanted, right? Like, I wanted to make an impact and I wanted to collect monetization off it. And I wanted to help people. And like, I am doing all that. So it's interesting how we just have to slow down our thought process sometimes.
You're like, I'm having trouble right now with wrapping my head around getting paid to coach. I guess instead I'll just go back to getting paid to coach. It's such a,
While I draw pictures, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really wild. Like, I think this is a part of my life season that's necessary. You know, when I was starting tattooing, I battled with taking people's money. You know, now I'm like, no, I'm worth it. You can give me your money. You know, like I'm okay with that. We're good. We're Gucci. So it's interesting, like the processes that we all have to break through. And I have a slow processing system sometimes. I'll delay my processing start. And then instead of working too hard to process through it, I'll just let it slowly dissipate. And I think that's one of those things that's happening. And like, dude, you didn't realize you were going to be such a teacher for me to continually remind me to stay that course. You know what I'm saying? But here we are.
We're pretty similar personalities.
Yeah.
So I get to work through my own bullshit with myself by
Right.
having someone that I like enough that I'm comfortable to say it to them.
Right.
Instead of having to say it to myself, which I'm like, oh, but I don't wanna.
And you're hearing it
works out.
anyway. You're dealing anyway. So fuck it. You know?
This is
Sounds like
exactly
my
why I
mom.
have a therapist.
Right.
And it's my biggest thing I have wanted for a while now is validation on certain issues that I feel, I mean, you know, kind of what's going on with everything with my job hop and all that. And it's funny because I keep meeting people and doing conventions and doing guest spots and, oh, hey, COVID is chilled out enough that we can all travel and do art in other states again. And I keep sitting down with people like Fox Sparrow. I went and sat down with Sean and Laura that work there and stayed at their house for 2 days. They've got this gorgeous, like 3-bedroom, or 3-bedroom, 3-story, like gorgeous antique home from like the turn of the century. And we sat down and they hung out and we talked about art and music and all this really cool stuff. And we talked about all the exact same stuff that you and I talked about. And they said the exact same thing. And it just like, I'm like, okay, so I'm not the only one that sees these things. And that's really nice. And it's the more that I travel around and meet the right people and chat with the people that I'm like, oh shit, these are my people. I'm coming to so much more terms with like just closing my brain off to all of that stuff and being like, yeah, it is what it is. It's fine. It's over. But that's what I wanted and I got it. And I got so much of that from you. So it is funny that in turn, like maybe some stuff that you didn't want to say to yourself about those same people in those same situations, you were able with me to be like, nah, this fucking sucks, dude. And you know, it was you allowing yourself to say it to yourself kind of in a really roundabout way. Same thing with, you know, everything. So it's, I think we get along and are similar enough that it's real easy to tell you what you need to hear because it's what I need to hear too.
Right. We navigate together. And it's funny because you just said something that popped up something for me about the validation stuff. The artist we had to get rid of, I got contacted by his partner, and this isn't to throw shade in any way, like I didn't really like the way the fucking contact went down.
Yeah.
It felt very much like someone was saying, well, you're the problem, and that's why artists aren't sticking at your shop for super long periods of time other than the ones you've got. And it was weird because that's a thing that I'm working through, because like I said, we had that mass exodus last year and we lost like 4 or 5 artists, and that was at like the height of me going through being okay having a baby, because when Donna was pregnant, it was fucking hard on me. I was managing the shop, I was tattooing at the shop full time, I was trying to take care of Donna's needs, and I was trying to plan to have a baby. So my brain went nuts. I snapped on people all the time. I didn't be the human I wanted to be. And then for somebody to bring that up later, after like I've worked through a lot of that and dealt with a lot of that sadness and that pain, to have them say, well, maybe you're the problem, that's why you had to fire him. And it's like, not today. And it was really hard to just sit there and be like, nah, dude, like this ain't that. Yes, that was that at a point in my shop and I'm working through that, but this ain't that. And like, it was hard for me to not be like, fuck you, because it touched something in me that hurt. But then I had to realize, look, man, this is just what it is. Sometimes people get let go, and sometimes somebody in their life isn't happy about it. Sometimes, you know, you get let go and you're not happy about it. And it was a really weird thing. And what you just said just kind of popped that up about validation, because I've been getting a lot of people trying to anti-validate me lately. So like, I'm trying really hard to believe in myself and trust the process. And like, these little micro moments keep popping up to say, hey, you want to come off course, don't you? Yeah, come on, fuck that shit. And it's
If
like,
they weren't afraid of your power, they wouldn't try to invalidate it.
absolutely. And that's the thing. I know this, but it doesn't make it easier in the moment,
No,
except, you know
I
what I'm
know.
saying? Because in the moment, they're feelings, right? And you're like, okay, well, now I just have to wait for them to pass or try to put my focus on something different. You know, that's really fucking hard to do. And, you know, lessons, patience, right? Sit there with the discomfort. One of the things I'm learning about people is the best way to be there for somebody when they're sad or going through some shit is just sit there and be in that that uncomfortable silence with them. And that's stupid and that's hard, but that's the job, right? So
it's uncomfortable. That's the point. Sometimes people just need you to sit with them in their awkwardness.
And that exact statement you just made, sometimes you just need to sit with yourself in your own awkwardness.
Oh, I'm an awkward motherfucker. I do.
But like for me, when the feelings hit, it's really hard for me to just sit there in it and not react. Because now I need a win, right?
Yeah,
now I need to go and
that's
fight.
not reacting.
Right. I want it. So, oh, you gonna say this? Let me go and say it. And it was just like, you know what? If he wants to communicate about this any further, you can have him communicate with me. And that was my official statement, you know, and you know, that's what it was. And it was hard for me, but like I was able to get through that way quicker than it would have been 6 months ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, because it would have sent me on a whole tailspin for a while. This is a weird feeling. I didn't like losing this person in my life on a daily basis. And now you're trying to make me feel bad about it even more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
it's definitely one of those things too, where I think, like every once in a blue moon, somebody is like just fucking wrong. Again, we'll loop back to the whole idea that Hitler existed. He was just wrong. It just is what it is. But more often than not,
deserves some applause.
Yeah, whether
sometimes people are just fucking wrong.
Yeah, sometimes people are just fucking wrong. But more often than not, whether it's 90-10, whether it's 60-40, 50-50, both parties, there's not even necessarily a right or wrong. Wrong might not even be the right term, but like just don't agree or don't see eye to eye. And there's so much to be said for when somebody feels the need to reach out to be like, no, it's you, no this, no that. And it's such a projecting thing to not be like, hey, I know I didn't handle this the best way possible, but also I didn't really like that you did that and that caused me to feel this way, or to like sit down and really logically break down the actual breakdown and things. And it's so easy in an argument to be like, hey, I get why you're upset. I kind of fucked this up, but also understand that I'm trying my best and that I also have X, Y, and Z going on. And more often than not, it'll almost disarm people and kind of catch them off guard. And they're like, well, fuck, thank you for admitting you're wrong. You know, I actually didn't handle A, B, and C to your X, Y, and Z very well. Or maybe I just thought this was that. Right. Versus if somebody's just like, no, fuck you, you're wrong. It really reeks of them being like, just unable to process the situation or to potentially process their wrongdoing in the situation or not accept it. Sometimes it just don't be like that. So, you know, for anybody to reach out with you with that, I think it is a thing where, you know, that should be validating to you, that they weren't like, hey, I'm really upset about how this went down, or hey, I'm really, you know, where was the lack of communication? Where was the issue? Where was the drop of responsibility? Did I do this? Did you do that? How can we fix this in the future going forward? It was just no, you fucking suck. And there's no real feedback in that. And that should show less of an invalidation to you and more of a,
Well,
again, it's potential you were a little bit of the issue or the situation just was what it was, but like, don't take too much guilt in that situation if the best that they can come at you with is like, this is fucking dumb.
well, and that's the weird thing. Like, dude, with both of these cats, I was like, bro, I know 100% I am not in the wrong. And I usually can't say I know 100% I'm not in the wrong. Like, these steps were taken intentionally to make sure I wasn't in the wrong in this situation. And it's interesting because I had a hard time deciding if it was like, should me as an owner of a business have to fucking deal with your significant other talking to me about you getting fired? Like, I feel like we're not in school anymore, dog. Like you know, so like I feel like
that's kind of like having your mom call your job to yell at them because they're not treating you right.
Right. And it was really weird. It threw me off because I was like, I know 100% that I have done everything I could as a human that provided a place of employment for these dudes. But like, it threw me off. It just threw me off because like, I don't know which part was right and which part was wrong, except for the parts that I do know. And then now you're presenting me information that I've working through from before. And it was a very confusing thing for me. And yeah, sometimes some people just are wrong the way they come at you, you know, and sometimes that puts a different response in your lap because it's hard to just be like, yeah, I don't really agree. Please, let's, you know, I'll let me try to understand. I had no want to understand. I was like, yeah, this conversation is basically over. We shouldn't be having this. And I feel like that's where I was wrong because I could have gone further, but like, I didn't have the space for it. Yes, Tess.
Not to interrupt, but I'm gonna go pop off to my chaos and cook dinner.
Well, it is 6:19, so we should be wrapping this up now.
Oh, what a surprise. We went over.
I was actually very intrigued on what everyone was saying because I'm kind of like in the crossroads of going back to school or not going back to school. And I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do business or if I want to do photography.
Intuition. And if you did, my suggestion, if you do business, that teaches you how to fucking do business for photography because you can teach yourself photography outside of school.
See, outside of that, I want to open a cafe because I'm a coffee snob.
Then go to business school.
But I'm also
you went to culinary school, go to business school.
I don't even want to go.
All right, go to your children. I love you.
Okay, I love you too, Mom. See you guys. I'll see you when you're
love. Have a good one. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start wrapping this up now. But yeah, once again, no shade thrown to anyone.
No.
If anyone is watching and they do know any of the people involved in this, no shade whatsoever.
A cool Captain Picard quote from Star Trek. So I'm being real cool when I quote this. But you can make every right move and still lose.
Oof.
A good one, right?
Right in the chest.
Banger. You can hear it in his voice too. You can make every right move. And but no, that's for real. And that's the thing that like you could have been 100% right. And I don't know the situation. They could have been 100% right. And it's so easy to be like, it sounds like it was a very amicable terms with the person themselves for you to be like, hey, you're at this thing where you're crushing it. My shop's running the way it works. Neither of us was wrong. It just didn't fit. And there can be so much no shade in that. So hopefully, even though it sounds like their significant other maybe wanted to, you know, put a little fault somewhere, it sounds like the both of you were like, dude, we both made all the right rooms. It just wasn't the right fit.
That's so funny that you just said that because it made total sense when you just said that. The significant other just wanted to, you know, place some blame or some fault or get some understanding or some clarification. I just didn't appreciate the way it was carried out.
Yeah, and the way that the game
it is kind of cute that they were standing up for their partner, though. They just didn't go about it very well.
That's cute, but I'm not here for that. I got a lot of people I got to fucking manage in my life. And if you want to do this, let's talk in person. Let's set up a meeting. You know, don't tell me a bunch of stories in a message. And then now I'm like, not really sure how you even fucking came at me. because text is very hard to decipher.
Yeah, you don't get the connotation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last shop I left, their significant other texted me a super passive aggressive novel on the way out the door, and I was just like, I'm gonna choose to read this at the value of they didn't mean it to sound as bad as they did, even though it definitely does. And it was so easy to just be like, okay, and just not respond and move on with my life. So you know,
well, and that's
maybe it
funny.
sounds like that's where you left it at, was just like, okay, cool, well, I've had the extent of this conversation I want to have, so you can come bring some coffee through and say hi and we can chat, or you can you know, be mad.
Yeah, no, it's funny too, because when in the terms of significant others, Donna was my softener before she got pregnant. She would always soften my edge, and I'm glad she taught me excessive radical softening, because that motherfucker has no patience anymore, and she wants to tell
not soft.
Dude, she used to be a lot more soft when dealing with people, and the pregnancy and stuff, just like she put that away, and now she's like, fuck it, I want to kill everybody when they're wronging you. And I think why I take personal offense to it is because, look, me and Donna will get into a fight about it. If she's like, oh, I'm gonna tell them, I'll be like, no, the fuck you're not. You're going to be a grown-up. We're gonna take the fucking high road, and we're gonna be good people here. And like, because I know what the other road leads to, man. You want to fight, you're gonna get one. And then if you want the pain that comes with that fight, it doesn't matter if you want it, you're still gonna get it. So it's been a very interesting thing to like just exist and thrive, and you know, move on through all of the things that I lived through. So, and you know, once again, I got a really good life, and there's really nothing I should be complaining about. But at the end of the day, it's hard to live sometimes. It just is. Sublime made a song about it.
Yes, they did.
We're all just navigating.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, fuck. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Once again, Guy Aitchison, Gabe Ripley, Reinventing the Tattoo. Thank you for giving us a place to come and talk about our feelings. Thank you guys for always showing up. Dusty, thank you for who you are as a friend, as a human in my life, and as a counterpart to this production. Love you guys. Have a great fucking night, and I will talk to you soon.
Love you too.